If you're looking for an on-camera monitor to just put on top of your camera while you're filming, or maybe you have an overhead camera and you need to be able to see what it sees while you're filming a tabletop, or maybe you're using it on a gimbal and you just need to be able to see what the camera can see because your little flip out screen is blocked by what's holding the camera. Whatever the reason, there are a bunch of different kinds of camera monitors price-wise between a budget-friendly or something more expensive with a touchscreen. And so in this video, I'm gonna be taking a look at one of those cheaper budget-friendly options, around $150, $160 on Amazon. And this is the Feel World MA5. So this is a 5-inch camera monitor that was sent to me for review, and I've been using it in the studio and kind of testing out what I would use it for. And I don't necessarily compare it to a really nice one from like Aperture or Small HD or Atomos, or one of the higher end ones that maybe has recording features or has a really good display or has a nice big screen. But sometimes you just need that cheap, budget friendly little monitor that always sits next to your camera, on top of your camera, so you can see what it's seeing with a little bit bigger screen than maybe what the flip out gives you. So let's take a look at what's included in the box. There's actually a lot of accessories that this comes with, which is kind of surprising for the price. So let's open it up and check it out. In the box, you have the manual, a Sony L-mount battery, charger, and micro USB cable. You have a ball joint for attaching it to something like a gimbal. You have an L bracket for attaching to the top of your camera and then mounting the monitor here, enabling it to swivel and also attach a microphone here. This is basically a knockoff of the Small HD Focus setup. They give you a nice sun hood that kind of attaches with some Velcro, which is good. You get two HDMI cables, one that goes to mini and one that goes to micro. They include a carrying case that's zippered, which kind of looks like a Game Boy carrying case. And then the actual monitor with all the inputs, the buttons, the battery pack on the back, and the threads on either side. So let me put the battery in this thing, get it booting up here. Automatically will turn on, I believe. There you go. So it's starting to boot up, and I'll take off the protective coating here. So right now it has no input, obviously. I haven't plugged in anything, but it's a 1080p screen. So 1920 by 1080p. It does take 4K signal in, and because it has HDMI in and out, that enables you to basically daisy chain this. So if you had another bigger monitor you wanted to plug in, you could plug into this and then into that, or what have you. So that's handy. Got the power in and out as well. We got threads on the top and bottom and right side of this to enable you to, use this kind of ball arm or to use this kind of rotating cold shoe mount. So that's great. As well as on the top, you have 4 different sets of buttons here. Function 1 and 2, which enables you to basically custom set those to false color or focus assist or something like that. And then you have menu changing and volume changing. So this does have a headphone jack on the bottom. So if you're using a camera that doesn't have a headphone jack, maybe a point and shoot like a Sony RX100 or a Canon G7X or something like that, and you do want a headphone jack, you'll be able to monitor the sound using this. Then there's a menu button and a power button. On the back, all there really is the release button for the battery to pull that out or to push it in all the way till it clicks like that. And on the bottom here, you have your headphone jack and you have your USB upgrade. So if you're going to change the firmware, you're gonna have to plug in that USB cable they included to do that. And that's basically a quick little tour of this. One of my favorite things about this is it is so light. It's only 0.3 pounds before we put the battery on it. So about a half a pound once you have that battery on it, which doesn't add much weight to being on top of a vlogging camera that doesn't have a flip out screen, or a gimbal that's already pretty heavy and getting to be a little unmanageable, or just carrying it around and packing it, it doesn't add a lot of weight. So it's a nice little compact 5-inch screen to act as a monitor. If you're going to spend more for a monitor from a more name brand company like Small HD or Aperture or Atomos or what have you, maybe you'll get that touch screen, maybe you'll get some of the more advanced abilities to have custom screens that you can swipe between, or maybe you'll get HDR, and those are the things you're gonna get for spending way more money. But if you just need a cheap monitor with a lot of the same features, such as focus assist, false color, zooming in and out and you're on a budget, this is a pretty solid option. Now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to navigate the menus. I'll show you how to get through those here. But if you press your function buttons, you could have basically things pop up like false color, or your histogram could be a quick setup. But to actually go through the menus, hit this menu button here, and then you use the arrows to go between the different segments. And you can see they have a lot of the things that you would normally maybe need to do. So if you wanted to go down into zoom, you could zoom in 4x, 9x, 16x, get really zoomed in there. You could change your scan mode if it's maybe cutting the edges off a little bit on whatever you've input into this. But it has a lot of the same features that you might want in a different monitor, but just smaller. Maybe the menus aren't as quick to use. You don't have a touch screen. And so maybe this is just something you keep on your camera all the time, or you keep it on your camera that's on the tripod in your studio that is never moving, and you just need that additional monitor with some of the features, but isn't trying to impress anybody by its size or its calibration color-wise, or its deep blacks with an OLED like a small HD focus or something like that. So if I just needed a bunch of cheap monitors to see what each of my cameras are seeing, or to put on a vlogging or gimbal rig, this might be what I go with. If you don't have any Sony L-mount batteries and you have a bunch of a different kind, like Canon LP6s, they do have different adapters to enable you to power them that way. Some of the other functions that I think are really great are being able to do anamorphic desqueezing and framing, their histogram, false colors, focus assist peaking in different colors, showing you what's overexposed, putting ratio markers if you're going to shoot 2:1 or 2.35:1, and choosing which two functions those custom buttons use. The sun hood that's included is actually pretty snazzy. It does connect via Velcro, so it just kind of quietly snaps into place there. A little louder when you take it off, but that little bit of sun protection when you're outside is going to be super helpful. Attaching that ball arm, like I said, I would definitely use this side here onto the monitor, all the way in. You can make sure that's nice and tight, and then screw this side into basically your gimbal or some tripods. You could just kind of screw it in that way, and then loosen this up, angle it exactly how you need to. And so the fact that they include so many accessories is really great. And then if you're wanting to mount this on top of a camera at, a cold shoe or something like that, we'll bring out the camera, we'll bring out their little attachment here, put that on, screw that in place. Then on the right side, there's a thread there. Go ahead and screw that on. So just like that, you have a little monitor to be able to see what your camera is seeing. I'm actually leaning more towards using cameras like this, where you have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera that's much smaller, and then you have a bigger screen on top. So you don't have to kind of duck down to see what the screen's doing. And especially if you're using a camera that doesn't have a flip out screen like Canon 5D series or a Sony camera or what have you, having this bigger screen on top enables me to kind of be more fluid with where I put the camera, and it makes me see things better. I start thinking about things a little bit more cinematically when I have a bigger screen that's maybe clean without any of the information and histograms and that sort of thing. If I'm just focused on the image with even a cheap monitor like this $150, $160 one, it just enables me to kind of think more cinematically as opposed to being distracted by all the things that are on the screen and the histogram and my exposure and how much I was left on my memory card and my battery and everything. So having a clean input here on the top is what I've been doing lately when I'm filming. So for the price of what this one costs, around that $150 price range, I couldn't find anything else on Amazon that came close in regards to the amount of accessories that it came with. Yes, there are cheaper monitors and that sort of thing, but the ability to use a Sony battery, you put one of those huge ones on there, you're gonna get hours and hours out of using this monitor, which means just less of a hassle. Having things like the sun hood, the attachment here, this thing, the two HDMI cables that are included, a battery that it comes with, and a charger. If you buy a cheaper monitor or something around this price range and it doesn't have the accessories, you're gonna have to spend $25, $50, $75 to kind of build out your monitor into being able to plug it into your camera or position it how you want. So the fact that they include all of these things for that price, and it is, you know, just a standard monitor, nothing to get too excited about for the picture quality or anything like that. But if you just need to see your framing, make sure you're in focus and get some of the feedback from your camera that you don't get because you don't have a flip out screen or your screen is too small, this is a good option. Below this video, I will link to this monitor and all the other gear and equipment I use to make my YouTube videos and run my production company. If you're interested in other monitors that maybe are a little bit higher end that give you a better picture quality, or the screens are a little bit bigger or what have you, definitely check out these videos as well. Thanks so much. I've been Caleb Wojcik, and I'll see you in another one. Cheers.